Okay, here I am once again in the latest exciting installment in this shield building thing. Today, I'm going to be taking that thing right there and making a nice, happy 3-foot circle out of it. And I'm going to be doing it with this. I've been dying to try this out for the longest time. Yeah, sure, I got a router right here. I can just do it with that. But come on, who doesn't want to cut circles on a table saw? But so here's how this is going to work. I'm going to have a piece sitting over here. This was the largest piece I can manage to scavenge, which is just 1 inch bigger than what I need. Now I've already marked out this side of it, although I think that what may wind up happening here is I'll wind up flipping it over and marking out the other side, because I'm going to have a piece sitting in this track, and I don't have any pneumatic nails at the moment, so I'm going to go with a glue and screw of that little piece of walnut over there. That's going to sit in the track. This angle bracket over here is going to wind up making up this distance over here. It's going to sit over this side, and it's going to be clamped in place. Just going to throw a C-clamp across the back. So, naturally, first step, get a piece cut and shaped to fit inside of here. So what I've got set up here already is, this is the piece that's going to sit in the track, and this is just something I've got as sort of a stop for the L iron here. I'm going to mark this out. I'm going to countersink it. I'm going to drill my pilot holes first. Let's see if I can set this thing up over here, and then I'm going to cut it on the bandsaw. That blade's going to drip a little bit because okay, I don't know how long that wasn't recording for, but in case you missed anything, we got this. It goes in here. That's gonna wind up getting clamped. That's actually a really annoying little lip, but I don't care. So we know here that this is the apex of the blade. Now I know I said, so that's where my measurements are coming from. Now I know I said I was just gonna throw all sorts of caution to the wind here, or rather take considerably more caution. Now I'm throwing caution to the wind. Oh baby, you better believe I'm throwing caution to the wind. I'm gonna throw some self-tappers into this. They're going to want to poke out the other side, but I'll get them most of the way through. I'll pull the thing off, drive them home, and then just nip off the excess. So yeah, things like not having the right size drill bit for this kind of put a damper on your spirits when you try and do shit the nice and proper fancy way. So 3 1.25 self tappers. Get one going over here. And a particular reason for self tappers, by the way, is, for one thing, it actually drills in front of itself, and it's also fine thread, which is a much better way to go for hardwood. I can't tell you how many times in the past I've just said, nah, sure, I'll put that coarse thread drywall screw into this. No, you're not putting this coarse thread drywall screw into this thing. Just not going to happen. Okay, so now that it's biting a little bit, I'm going to leave that alone. And see to it that this is still sitting more or less where it's got to be. It is not sitting more or less where it's got to be. In fact, it is sitting nowhere near where it's got to be. What we're looking at is some point in the process of doing all this. Managed to pull this whole thing back. So I'm just going to eyeball this gap. I'm not ripping anything here. It doesn't need to be dead straight. I'm not using feeler gauges to get this right. But figure out what this is and just compensate for that when I'm working off the radius on this. Moving right along though. One of those over here. I'll actually lift it up and off of there. Yeah, you see how it's biting. It's not doing much more than that. That's because I just don't want them to poke through and mar up the track on the saw. Okay, that's good. That sink itself in a little. There we go. Move it over, and I'm gonna toss in one more from this side. Actually, so I'll let that start itself. And just come back real quick with a countersink. Because if I try and drive that home, it's just going to split on me. You, countersink. I know you're in here. Don't you hide from me. Go a little deep. Nothing I'm too concerned about. Give it a little more. Good. Oh, come on now. Alright, so that's sitting below the surface. This is little enough here that I can probably just file that off. So I will grab one of my lovely little files. Which one am I using today? Okay. All right. So we missed a little bit of that, but to recap a little bit, cutting circles on a table saw involves starting the blade off below the workpiece. You measure off of where the blade is, where the center on that blade is at, and you measure out here. In this case, since I had that little gap over there, I went a little shy of it, but 18 inches. 18 inches being the radius of this circle. Drill a hole through this piece of material, and as soon as I get my shield piece up here, we'll also drill a 1/4 inch hole through this. Actually, something just occurred to me. I'm gonna actually stop the tape right now, because I just remembered that I gotta figure out how big a hole to cut for the shield boss, and it's gonna be a little bit of a pain in the ass if I've got a 1/4 inch hole instead of a small point to spin off of with the compass. So, give me 1 second. I'm going to figure out how big a hole I need here, and I'm going to go take care of that. All right. After a brief interlude, I figured out I thought about making a shield boss myself, but I'm just gonna buy one. So they've got the internal diameter that listed at 145 millimeters, which is about 5 3/4 of an inch. So radius off of that is going to be 2 7/8. So just to start myself off. Whoop. And okay, so now moving right along. Let me put you back up here. Drill myself a 1/4 inch hole. Find myself a bolt. Run this through the one on the other side. Oh, come on now. I had a call come in while I was filming. Okay, setting this back over here. Just make sure I can get this to fit down into here. So, a little bit of trouble, that's okay. spins on this center axis. And as I'm spinning this here, I'm going to raise the blade up a little bit at a time. And what eventually what that's going to do is, because that part where that line was struck, you can't see a thing, can you? Because the sandpaper is wet. But yeah, so recap, it spins. I start bringing the blade up as it's doing this. And because that little bit right by the center line is the closest thing there, that's going to be the point that it's cutting on. So I'm going to get that exact radius off of this. With that. The old girl plugged in, and let's spin some circles. And that, my friends, is how you cut a circle on a table saw. Now I'm not going to be doing this for the hole for the shield boss. I'm going to use a router or something like that for it. But take a look at it. It's a damn clean cut. You know, this is something. If you had a permanent fixture like this, I mean, you could get a whole thing set up on, you know, across the entire. You know, if you've got a large feed table, just get the whole thing marked out there, and then whatever size circle you need as you do it. You know, if you got a 2-foot outfeed table, then you can get an entire 4-foot circle out of a piece. You know, and if you have large material, you can get large radiuses off of it. Really, really useful thing. And I just don't see it happening enough. Next thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna set up my router so I can spin this circle out, and then gonna get this a little flatter. Stick a little bevel on this outside here, and then I'll be ready to start stretching fabric. So now I got a circle. I got a nice, big, happy 3-foot shield. So, cool. Okay, I'm back with another bit of good and hearty stupidity for you. Here's what I got here. This is the line that I scribed. This was something that I just cut. The reason for this is that when I was in the process of figuring out the radius from my router, I discovered that, and I had a 1/4-inch bit in there at the time, which you can see from these marks. I found that to get right up to the line, it kind of falls inside of the pre-existing router base. So I had the bright idea, fuck it, I'll just take out one of the screws on my base and put that through the hole that's already there. Once again, kind of stupid. It's a little bit stupid, but it's gonna work. And actually, I mean, first thing I thought was, well, you know, can I get away with this? Can I fit my fist in there? The answer is kinda. Right now, I've got a, you know, kinda for the most part, yeah, sort of ish. Let me grab a ruler. At the moment, I'm looking at a little bit shy of 5 inches. If I get the additional 1/2 inch in either direction, I'm sorry, not a 1/2 inch. I can't do math right now. I think that with a 3/4 inch bit in the router like I've got right now, I think that'll get me close enough. Because I already made a circle jig for a table, so I really just don't feel like making a circle jig for my router today. So, without further ado, let's see the stupidity commence once again. This is the screw from the router base. This into the hole in the base. Get that just tight enough that it doesn't wobble. And so it can still spin. Okay, now from your vantage point, all you're going to see is me spinning a disc. I kind of want you to see what the router's doing. So I'm going to place you down here, and I think that'll looks like it should be good. Kind of trying to peer into the side of my milk crate. Yeah, okay. That works. Plug myself back in. So all I'm going to do here, I'm turn the router on, and I'm just going to spin this top piece. Gradually bring the bit further through this, getting closer to the other side of it. Got me just about where I needed to be. Only ever so slightly. What's happening here? Oh, just a shadow. Okay. I'm only ever so slightly shy of that line. Now, this piece started breaking off at some point or another, and that kind of made my cut a little funky, but because I had already bitten into it previous to that, it's pretty good. I mean, I'm just gonna have to clean it up a little bit. But yeah, this is now all the cuts that need to be made as far as the wood goes. So far so good.